Well, Prime Minister Modi is on a two-day official visit to Tokyo, Japan. He has asserted that India has political and economic stability, transparency in policy, predictability, and is on track to become the world's third largest economy soon. The statement comes 2 days after the United States doubled its tariffs on Indian goods to as high as 50%, citing New Delhi's buying of Russian oil, the most punishing among US trade partners, at par with Brazil. Meanwhile, US has hiked up tariffs on Japan, taking it to 25%. This brings us to an important question. What is the future of Quad under Trump 2.0? Let's break down the impact of Trump's significant 50% tariffs on India. And according to reports, India-US bilateral trade is expected to take a $13 billion hit because of this. This move has put a hold on India-US trade deal as well. Meanwhile, Japan has reacted strongly, halting $550 billion worth investment talks with the US due to the 25% Trump tariffs. The Bank of Japan has lowered its 2025 growth forecast by 0.6%. Major Japanese companies like Toyota and Mazda are facing profit declines, with Toyota projecting a 20% drop. We'll talk about this with our guest. Joining us on the show is Professor Stephen Nagi, International Christian University in Tokyo, Tomohiko Taniguchi, ex-advisor to late Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, Sonal Shikha, President of the Indian Community, Edogawa, Mr. Yuichi Kondo, immigration lawyer, founder of Namaste Edogawa and GoGo India. Thank you everyone for being a part of this conversation. Professor Stephen, I'll begin with you. Well, the big question is something that I've of course mentioned in my monologue as well. What will become of the Quad now? The Americans, in fact, were very emphatic, very interested in making sure that the Quad reaches its ultimate aim, which is of containing China. But the tides have turned now. China is not being reprimanded by the Americans for having, or rather buying oil from Russia, but India is, and even Japan is being punished. What is the future for both these countries, and how can they together prevent a decline in their economies because of this hit?
So thank you very much for having me. There's a lot of questions that you've raised on the table, but let me first start with the Quad. The Quad has evolved over the past decade or more. That was revived under the late Prime Minister Abe Shinzo when he came into power in 2012. And I think we should look at it over a longitudinal period of time in how it's changed its function. Yes, it was primarily a security organization when it started, but it evolved to providing public goods to the broader Indo-Pacific region, with India being a key partner in terms of representing the global South, but a key partner on equal terms with Japan, the United States, and Australia. And I think that this direction is going to continue. It's going to go through some rough spots, but again, I think we need to look at it over a period of time. Your second question with regards to the economy, and again, I think that it's better to look at this the tariffs that the Trump administration has put on Japan, India, and other allies over a longer period of time to see what is their immediate impact and what are they trying to achieve over a longer period of time. And in this sense, I think that the Trump administration, whether we agree with their approach or not, is fundamentally trying to reconfigure the global economy, concentrate its economic resources in North America so that it can compete with China in the most competitive way. And that means secured supply chains, it means a strong energy sector, and it means partners that are reliable and committed to the shared view that the United States and its allies need to outcompete China. Whether these recent tariffs are effective at doing that, I think many experts like myself would say that punishing India and Japan and other allies is not in the interests of the United States' long-term interests. But again, I think it's premature to say what is going to be the negative impact of these tariffs today. We need to look at it over a longer period of time.
All right, so Mr. Taniguchi, your thoughts on where does this leave the alliance which was started to counter China? It seems that there's perhaps going to be another consortium or a forum with China, India, and Japan included to counter what the Americans are doing.
Everything that Professor Nagi has just told us, I think is to the mark, and I could not agree more. with what Professor Nagy said.
Right.
We're looking at a future where we would like to choose a democratic alliance structure or a Pax Sinica with China at the center of everything: economy, politics, military. I, for one, would not like to live under that sort of international order. And it is incumbent upon not the United States, but Delhi and Tokyo to initiate deeper dialogue on security about Quad in particular, and continuously to tell the US leadership that in the coming decade, or even longer than that, India and Japan must thrive together with the United States, and of course with Australia and so on. So rather than waiting for what the United States is going to do next, it is India and Japan that must take initiatives to lead the international order, which should cater to the national interests of both nations, India and Japan.
Sonal Shikha, the idea, of course, here is that regardless of what pressure the Americans are able to put on both the countries, newer avenues can always be implored as well as explored. India has just signed an FTA with the United Kingdom. Something of a similar nature is also in works with the European Union. This obviously puts the question to a rest whether the world can or cannot survive without doing business with the Americans.
What my colleagues have just now said, it's really, really wonderful. Definitely, I couldn't add more to that. But I can give you some figures for the economic partnership which India and Japan has. Like in the last 2024, the contribution of Japan, which was direct, the FDI investment, was crossing 40 million US dollar. And it was in area of automobiles, electronics, renewable energy, and infrastructure. And more than 1,500 companies now operate in India, employing lakhs of people and contributing to make India an Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is the vision of our Prime Minister Modi. Your question was that what will be the impact of the current situation? I'm not sure. I'm not an astrologer. I'm not very politically correct to answer that, because these are things which will be known in near future. But definitely, both the countries are standing very tall when united on the global platform. One of the ambitious project like the bullet train, which is a success, which is ongoing project. Then Japan and India special strategy on dialogues between foreign and defense minister, which is a very positive dialogues which has been done, and a lot of collaboration has been done there. Also, if you, I heard about talks about Quad. Japan has participated alongside India in Malabar naval exercise with US and Australia as part of Quad alliance, ensuring a free, open, and a very inclusive Indo-Pacific region. So I would say India-Japan relations and transformation. It will be very big, and it will affect the world, because when they stand united together, they will be a very big economy. And for when we see Prime Minister Modi ji's vision on this thing, we see that this friendship or this collaboration is not measured by years, but it is by trust. And this cooperation is not based merely on interest, but shared destiny also. And the journey is like just not for ourselves, but Asia and for the world. So it's a very big thing, because it's a very holistic approach which both the countries are seeing and standing for. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Yuichi Kondo, let's also dwell on the fact that the Prime Minister has held the Quad and, of course, the participation by Japan very close to his heart. What is likely to change between these two great nations, considering the ecosystem throughout the world is changing because of American tariffs?
Yeah, my name is Yuichi Kondo. I think I'm not professor. I'm entrepreneur in Japan, so I'm focused on India and Japan. So anyway, I think in Japan is manpower is very shortage. So India is a very powerful manpower. So that's why I think they are cooperate each other. For example, in Japan is a shortage of skilled worker. So that's why in India, please supply for India to Japan. So that's why it's very important for manpower things. I think, and in Japan and in India, we don't know each other very much. We should know for example, culture. So that's why this is very important point. Culture is India is a diversity, but in Japan is not diverse, not diversity. So that's why we should know each other. So this is important things, I guess. This is my opinion. Thank you.
Right, and Professor Stephen, are you also of the opinion that perhaps curtailing China is no longer a priority that the Americans want to engage in right now? Both India and China buy Russian oil. Both the countries, have had their tiff with the Americans, but India managed to resolve this friction over the last couple of decades, which has been undone by Donald Trump in the last few days.
So let me just start. I think it's really important for us to understand the cardinal sins of diplomacy, and that is binary choices, emotional foreign policy, and pride. It's very difficult right now. The Americans under President Trump have put tariffs on both Japan and the and India, as well as my home country, Canada. And many people are very upset. But what is our long-term interests in these countries? Our long-term interest, as Professor Taniguchi said, is about securing an open, democratic a partnership in which that we can enjoy freedom, we can enjoy the ability to express ourselves, we can move freely, we're not surveilled by the state. These are shared interests and shared values of India, Japan, the United States, Canada, and many countries. And we need to continue to work towards these goals and work towards, again, this idea of ensuring that a pax sinica does not emerge. And this is, I think, a challenge for many, many countries. And if we think about the interests of India, India today is maybe the fifth or the sixth largest economy on the planet. It's not competitive with China. We should be very realistic about that. And it won't be for 10, 20, even 30 years. But by working with the United States, working with Japan, and working with other countries, India can build its industries, it can build its technologies, it can build complementary relationships, as Mr. Kondo said, by using the experts that are in India to come to Japan and work in Japan and deal with the labor shortages, and Japan, in the reverse, use its advanced technologies to help build the Indian economy. We need to work together and find platforms for working together. And it doesn't have to just be with the United States. It could be in new formulas, such as a new quad that includes India, Japan, Australia, and maybe Indonesia. Maybe we have another quad that works on maritime security in the Indian Ocean that includes India, Indonesia, maybe Japan, and another partner. We need to work with the United States, but at the same time, put different formulas of cooperation on the table in security, technology, development, labor exchanges, and education exchanges. So we're building this strong partnership that goes beyond just security, but it overflows into many different sectors. And it's through this, as Mr. Kondo said, that we develop mutual understanding, mutual benefit. We can build our economies so that they're open, secure, and they protect the interests, I think, of open society.
You're absolutely right. And India is the fourth largest economy in the world right now, perhaps will overtake Germany in the next few months, if not years. But you're right. And Mr. Taniguchi, security is also another parameter. If you look at ASEAN countries who have continuously complained about China and complained about the unfair practices exercised by China, Indo-Japanese cooperation in that sector or in that space could also spell a lot of gains for both the countries.
The first priority that when looking at the shared future, Japan's and India's, it is very much important for the Indian people to gain confidence and stay confident that the future will belong not to the communist oppressive regime, but to open democratic countries such as yours, India. And I think the reason why people admire Narendra Modi, not only in Japan, in India, but also in Japan and elsewhere, is that he is the kind of leader that continues to sow the seeds of hope and confidence to the Indian people. So you shouldn't be afraid of anything. You should certainly be much, much bigger and more influential going forward. And it's going to be a privilege for countries such as Japan to work alongside with India. And I think Japan will hugely benefit from this growth of India. And that applies to security equation as well. Here, the crux of the issue, the most important issue, is obviously Taiwan. Taiwan must stay as it is, neutral and independent entity from the mainland communist regime. How could we do that? It takes a lot of effort from all countries that care about Taiwan's future. So it's not going to be in the print, it's not going to be in the document, but I am sure that India and Japan and others, just as Professor Nagi said, Philippines, Indonesia, and so on, must work close by to make the Indo-Pacific region free and open, and especially the Taiwan status as it is.
Fair enough. Sonal Shikha, what could be the key takeaways, with this bilateral, and understanding the fact that India wants to be a global leader when it comes to production, like Prime Minister also said, make in India so that you can make for the world?
Definitely, the key takeaway, we can see the Japan-India Vision 2025 framework as in a larger picture, and how this collaboration and partnership aims and what they want to achieve. Definitely a peaceful and open, stable Indo-Pacific region based on democracy, international law, and freedom of navigation. That is the primary thing. Then both the countries will have a robust economic growth and technological innovation, which supports industrial transformation in both the countries. Because one side it's the manpower skills, and the other side it is technology and innovation. Again, we come to sustainable development with the climate through green technology and energy cooperation. Also adding to it the semiconductors and other mineral deals and collaboration which are happening during this visit. We are very looking forward for these positive reinforcement which will happen during this 8th visit of our Prime Minister. Adding to it, I would say a deepening defense relationship which has always supported the regional security of both the nations, that will be seen and will be the outcome of all these relationships. And lastly, I would say through all this, the infrastructure, the cultural, educational exchange, everything will be built for a long term, and which will totally depend on a mutual trust, and which will look for the prosperity of both the country. So if we see the position of India and Japan is not just like as partners to each others as the development of nations or other thing, but rather I would see them as a central pillar in shaping future of Asia and the global order in decades ahead. So, incorporated in the longer speech which was drafted by Modi ji, I would say the message of India and Japan future is very much similar to the cultural and old civilization bond which they have from more than 1500 years. Thank you.
Fair enough. We have run out of time, but appreciate everybody who joined us and weighed in on this important debate. We take a short break. We'll be right back.